next great resource for local weather is now available.
DigitalWeatherDesk.com is your source for up-to-the-minute local weather. Add DigitalWeatherDesk.com to your favorites, download our app, and follow me on social media. The Digital Weather Desk, powered by Wintry Next Bank.
Hey everybody, good morning, welcome in, and thanks for joining the Digital Weather Desk powered by Wintry Next Bank. What's next for you? Visit cnext.bank for more. Happy Friday, welcome to the weekend. That also means it's Cookie Friday at Wintry Next Bank. Chocolate chip cookies on Friday. So that's just one extra way to make the day a little bit better. For those that are joining in, looking for the latest in the forecast and kind of usually love our banter back and forth, I love that too, but we got a lot of information to cover, and I know we're going to have a lot of folks hopping in, so I'm just going to kind of jump right into the forecast. On the back end of things, maybe we can have a little hello, but I'm just going to kind of feet first into the forecast. A check of I-20 this morning, everything seems to be moving smoothly, should stay that way. Here is the winter storm warning as it sits. Nothing's changed overnight. Winter storm warning in place for the areas in pink. An ice storm warning in place for the areas in purple. What's the difference? Winter storm warnings accommodate the potential for sleet, snow, freezing rain. Ice storm warnings are really focused on the ice accretion, the freezing rain potential. Farther southward, winter storm watches are in place for the southern parishes and counties. Will you folks likely see upgrades later today to advisories or warnings? It is more than likely. It's just a matter of time. The extreme cold watch that's also in place across the region as most of us prepare for temperatures to fall well into the teens by morning hours on Monday. Could see the teens as early as Sunday night in some spots, and prolonged periods of time below freezing. Single digits are not out of the realm of possibilities, and also wind chills. Wind chills could drop below zero in many locations as we head through Sunday and into Monday, especially if those winds kick up with that secondary wave of precipitation. Here's the high points. Again, a winter storm is likely. Wintry precipitation in the form of freezing rain and sleet probably are predominant precipitation types, and it's looking more and more likely that more of the area is going to see freezing rain. Travel impacts and power outages are all a possibility. Again, hard to really say that with a high degree of certainty until we can really deal with the precipitation type. Here's a check of the water vapor imagery, and you can see the big spinning mid-level the upper low that continues off the Baja California coastline, and the conveyor belt of moisture, the fire hose of moisture that it provides from the Pacific all the way through northern Mexico, through the Rio Grande Valley, and into our area. That fire hose does not get shut off starting today, although it doesn't translate to rain initially. It doesn't get shut off today, and likely won't get shut off in many areas until mid to late afternoon on Sunday. Infrared satellite shows the cloud cover is already on the increase across the area as well. That shouldn't be that big of a surprise. And we are also already starting to see radar returns to our west. Your radar, of course, made possible by Brown's Roofing. Schedule your free roof inspection at brownsroofingla.com. So as you take a look at this precipitation, most of this is probably going to be very, very light, and keep in mind also that temperatures are well above freezing in most locations. So whatever we see today, again, light and liquid for most of the area. Now tonight, different story, especially across southern Arkansas. Visibility down along the Mississippi Valley, and it's actually improved in many locations, but southern Mississippi is dealing with some fog issues. It's 41 right now in Camden, 45 in El Dorado, 50 in Monroe, 52 in Natchez. And I know you're probably thinking, winter storm, we're in the 40s and 50s. The Arctic air is on its way. In fact, it's on the back of these northeasterly winds, which will continue to get quite breezy at times later today and into the nighttime hours as it pulls that colder air mass into place. Those winds continue out of the northeast currently between 5 and 10 miles per hour. Check a futurecast made possible by Bayou Power Sports I-20 Frontage Road in Monroe. Portable generators, they have a limited stock, but they are ready to help you out. Go see Mike and the gang, and they'll be more than happy to help you out today. A check of what we put into motion over the next little bit, and again, the primary focus is for onset of precipitation starting tonight. As I've mentioned for the last couple of days, we're looking at 2 waves of precipitation. Wave number 1 starts tonight and continues through a good chunk of the day Saturday, really focused along and north of I-20. So notice as I put this into motion here in a minute, be focused for these areas. They will probably see that first round of precipitation and have the best potential of seeing frozen precipitation during this round. Again, you can see this as we head toward daybreak on Saturday, as temperatures continue to fall to near freezing along the I-20 corridor. Again, more areas will see more accumulating freezing precipitation. By midday, there's going to be quite a bit of precip, but there's going to be a split somewhere. There's going to be somebody this first batch late tonight through the day to early part of the day tomorrow, or through a good chunk of the day tomorrow, they're going to go, we just got rain. That's all we got. And then this first wave is going to wrap up, and they're going to go, well, that was it, and all we got was rain. There's probably going to be a second, more concentrated area of precipitation behind this first wave. But there will be a lull at some point late tomorrow into tomorrow night. I will preface it by saying this, and again, all of this is just model data. We use this to tell a story and to help paint the picture, right? What I am worried about is when we hit this lighter corridor of precipitation late tomorrow night into early Sunday, a lot of these areas will be well below freezing during this stretch. And sometimes freezing drizzle and light freezing rain accumulates more quickly than moderate to heavy freezing rain. Because again, you put a lot of heavy freezing rain, a lot of that's going to bounce off and run off into specific locations, into the drainage areas. And it doesn't necessarily, readily accumulate perhaps as readily and more favorably as light precipitation. Again, freezing drizzle and light freezing rain sometimes is the most efficiently accumulating freezing rain. So that does leave a concern that even though we run into a corridor of lighter precipitation, that accumulations could still happen relatively rapidly, especially as temperatures continue to fall farther and farther below freezing. So the water freezes faster. Then we bring the second wave of precipitation in on Sunday, late Saturday, early Sunday, and through the early part of the day on Sunday. And this almost looks convective. And I said this last night. It almost looks like thunderstorms. And I wouldn't be surprised for a lot of areas to occasionally hear rumbles of thunder with their freezing rain and sleet. I will repeat that, as absurd as it sounds. I would not be surprised for a lot of areas to hear rumbles of thunder with their freezing rain and sleet. That heavier band of precipitation moves out to the east. And then most locations see the wraparound moisture continue to filter in as well. Clearing skies and very cold temperatures for the early parts of next week. This is the NAM model. It's one of our more recent, more readily available kind of shorter term, higher resolution models. It still paints the same general picture. Late night onset of precipitation across southern Arkansas, starting mid to late morning across northern Louisiana, spreading eastward. Heaviest band of precipitation setting up at some point Sunday morning. Here's a look at the high resolution rapid refresh model. The HRRR is what we call it. Same general story. Now this only goes so far in advance, so there's a big gap. You can see the heavier precip, but this is where the model ends, because it only goes about 48 hours out in time. Sometimes it only goes out 18 hours in time because it's really high resolution, and it's done every hour. So every hour we get a new one of these. Every 6 hours it's 48 hours long. Every other hour it's just 18 hours long. Get it? Got it? Good. Computer models are a weird thing, but they're fun stuff. Here's a look at the GFS model. Again, paints the same general thought process. Onset of precipitation late tonight through the early part of the day tomorrow. Gap. Saturday night, Sunday morning. Heaviest precipitation early half of the day Sunday. Wraparound, lingering snowfall perhaps Sunday night. Precip clears out, skies clear as we go into the early parts of next week. Again, here's something interesting enough, and I showed this last night for a lot of folks. This is lightning products. Yep, the potential for lightning. As I mentioned, Sunday morning, there is a very convective nature. Now, and so that is met to a certain extent with a little bit of a chuckle, but in all seriousness, convective or thunderstorm-like activity with heavier precipitation is going to produce gusty winds. If we have any kind of convective-like, thunderstorm-like nature to this precipitation, which again sounds kind of radical, right? But if we have any kind of convective nature to that, it leads to gusty winds, and gusty winds are not going to be a good thing with accumulating precipitation. For those that are joining and seeing this winter weather impacts and going, wait, everybody was in purple yesterday and you were trying to scare the living daylights at everybody. Why is everybody back in red now? Again, this is a national product. So these products fluctuate. Don't be surprised if later today we're back in the purple. But these products are just issued, again, it's a national product. It ebbs and flows back and forth. I wouldn't get too caught up in the specific category levels. We're way up there. Just be prepared for the impacts. Again, a reminder of the winter storm warnings that are in place for the areas in pink, the ice storm warning for the areas in purple, and then the blue area is a winter storm watch. Again, you folks are not under a warning or an advisory yet. I would expect that to change in the coming hours. Here's a look at the official forecast. Or my official forecast. Not the official, my official forecast. There you can go to a lot of different places and get a lot of different official forecasts. Changeover across southern Arkansas, far northern Louisiana, in Washington County, specifically in Mississippi. Sleet to freezing rain should happen at some point tonight. Changeover is next for folks along the I-20 corridor and through the Mississippi Valley. Along the I-20 corridor should happen at some point tomorrow morning. How early tomorrow morning? We'll get to that in just a minute. Freezing rain, probably the predominant mode. Some sleet not out of the question. And then the last folks to change over rain to freezing rain at some point Sunday morning will be the southern counties and parishes. I do still expect you folks to change over. Really haven't changed too much on this from yesterday. The accumulations the accumulation forecast has changed slightly. I'll get to that in a minute. The potential or when you should expect to drop below freezing. Again, why is this important? When you drop below freezing, you're likely to change from rain to some type of freezing precipitation. You can have sleet above freezing, but I think most of us are going to probably deal with freezing rain at least at the onset. It's also important because once you drop below freezing at some point, either tonight or tomorrow or early Sunday, you're going to stay below freezing until probably Tuesday afternoon. That's a lot of hours consecutively below freezing, and in many of those instances, you're going to be well below freezing. Again, the earliest time I can fathom southern Arkansas dropping below freezing is this evening, with the most reasonable time later tonight. Again, pretty high confidence they're going to drop below freezing far northern Louisiana, southern Arkansas, Mississippi Valley at some point late tonight, probably a little before midnight. I'll be watching it. Earliest fathomable time across the I-20 corridor, early tomorrow morning, shortly after midnight, but the most reasonable time is probably late tomorrow morning, somewhere between sunrise and lunchtime, 6 a.m. to noon, somewhere in there. And then the earliest time I can fathom the southern parishes changing over would be late tomorrow evening. The most reasonable time is probably before sunrise on Sunday morning. The accumulations graphic, again, I have adjusted this a little bit. And yes, it does account now for at least the possibility of some very, very light snow accumulations on the back end of this entire system across southern Arkansas, far northern Louisiana, into Washington County, Mississippi. So now we're calling for up to 2 inches of sleet and snow and up to 3/4 of an inch of ice accumulations across southern Arkansas. Again, any combination of those will be impactful. The higher the ice accumulations, the bigger problems with power outages, or the bigger potential for problems with power outages. Along the I-20 corridor, it is a very similar forecast, but there is still very much the wild card. Just a full preface, if you weren't in the Q&A last night, the European model still has a very, very distinct area where areas to the south of this line stay in a prolonged rain, and areas northwest of this line, we abbreviate freezing rain as ZR. So again, The European model is very, very, very insistent that areas to the northwest of this line are going to stay in freezing rain for an extended period of time. Meanwhile, we stay a liquid rain farther southeast of this line. I know you're going, well, Jared, that goes right through Ouachita Parish. You're right. It goes right through Jackson Parish. You're right. Oh, that makes it really tough forecast. You're right. All of that is accurate. Meanwhile, pretty much every other computer model brings that first wave of precipitation in that I've been talking about. First wave of precipitation is generally impacting these areas, and it's frozen. Then the next batch comes in heavier, more widespread, impacts the entire area, and it's also frozen. So again, there's still that. I think those questions are going to stay in the forecast until stuff starts falling from the sky. Sometimes there's going to be eventually a point where, like I said last night, you have to set the forecast, and we're getting pretty close to that. And you just kind of, it's Ronco, you set it and forget it. And we're getting very, very, very close to that point where, yeah, there will be small tweaks along the way. Yeah, we'll adjust these accumulations graphics by fractions of an inch either direction. But in terms of drastic swings, it's either we are hitting a point where it's either right or it's wrong. But I wouldn't expect to check in at noon and be like, oh, Jared has completely taken out the ice for the southern counties and parishes. I don't see that being a scenario. We have it in the forecast. It could still be a heavy accumulating ice in those areas, but there's still a lot of uncertainty for the areas in green. There's still quite a bit of uncertainty for the areas in purple. But there's confidence that we're going to see something. It's just a matter of what. And again, I can't stress enough how much water is in the atmosphere. There is a lot of water in the atmosphere, and we're going to get more. So something's falling from the sky. That's not the question. A lot of times with winter weather, it's a matter of, do we have enough moisture with all this cold air? Do we have enough moisture to get it all the way down to the surface? That's my cheesy weather guy voice. And so we always have that question. That's not the question. It's not a matter of whether we'll have the cold air. We'll have that. It's a matter of, do we have the right balance with the warm air aloft? Do we have the right balance to change this over to freezing precipitation? And can that cold air become entrenched enough before all the moisture moves out? Again, the reminder of the extreme cold alerts, single-digit temperatures, sub-zero wind chills are not out of the question. I did not show you a wind graphic or forecast graphic on purpose. That's by design, because a lot of folks would see the potential for sustained winds and wind gusts and go, oh boy. But I will warn you, as I mentioned earlier, the potential for thunderstorm-related wind gusts or in that type of thought process Sunday, combined with ice accumulations in the trees, if we were to see wind gusts in the 20 to 30 mile an hour range, which would be possible, we'd have some problems. 30 mile an hour wind gusts with ice in the trees and on the power lines would be a problem. So it's something to entertain. Again, when you start talking about these types of storms, everybody said the whole thing, storm of the century, storm of the generation, it's going to be the storm of the decade, it's going to be the storm of the blah, 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 blah. Messaging is very delicate, and I've been saying this all week. It is extremely delicate because you want folks to be prepared for the potential and for the possible worst-case scenarios, but you also don't want folks expecting the worst case scenarios, because when that doesn't happen, well, you got us all worked up for nothing. Upper teens to low 20s by Sunday morning. We will not get above freezing Sunday afternoon. We're back into the teens and 20s to start Monday. We probably won't get above freezing on Monday afternoon. Secondary surge of Arctic air moves in Tuesday, and that could potentially be, and perhaps should be, the coldest night of this entire push, if you will, this entire stretch, and it could push a lot of areas into the single digits. And then we should rebound eventually back above freezing by Tuesday afternoon, not very far above freezing. Then my middle parts of the week were into the 40s. I know a lot of folks also want to know about the potential for winter weather at the end parts of next week. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, honestly. Again, it's some of the cold weather prevention tips. Just make sure that, again, the faucet's dripping. insulation for those exposed outdoor pipes. Open those kitchen and bathroom cabinets and let the warm air of your house use that to your advantage, and let that warm air get to your pipes. And again, make sure that the heat's on. Stay warm safely. Carbon monoxide poisoning is a concern this time of year. Make sure that your smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors are working. Make sure that you're using approved heat sources indoors. Check on those that are electricity dependent for refrigerated medications and for dialysis and for oxygen. Make sure that you help prepare them ahead of time. Check on the elderly, check on the disabled, check on those that have small children. Make sure that everybody is prepared. And I'm going to go straight to the 7-day forecast, because a tonight tomorrow forecast graphic would just be really confusing. So as you take a look at the 7-day forecast, again, some of those cold weather reminders: pets, pipes, plants, people. Again, check on the elderly, your neighbors, those that just need a little bit more assistance than others. Check on them multiple times a day. Hey, you guys need everything? Hey, I'm going to the store one last time. Do you need anything? When you do go to the store, I know a lot of them are quite ransacked at this point, but try to think about being considerate and leaving something for your neighbor if you can. And again, we will eventually thaw back out, but it takes time. I know a lot of folks, again, are entertaining the possibility of winter weather at the end of this week. A lot of the trends have been back toward rain in that regard. So, again, let's not worry about that. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But it's not something that I'm overly worried about here in the short term. We're really just kind of focused on tomorrow and Sunday. Pam asks, quick question. Do you have a generator so you can keep broadcasting when the ice hits and electricity goes out? Yes. We have a full home standby generator. We may not be doing laundry, but we'll be providing weather updates. For those that are interested, I'm about to go back through the questions, by the way. So that concludes the forecast part. So for those that are just looking for a forecast and don't need all the extra jibber jabber, you can move on your merry way. Also, one last thing for those before they go on their merry way: Too Long Didn't Read set for 9:30. Another live update at 1 p.m. Another live update at 5 p.m. For those that prefer to read their forecast updates, I'll have one this afternoon. The earlier the better, but I don't want to anchor down to a specific time, because when it's ready, and you'll get it. But yes, we will be broadcasting through this entire thing. One of the very first things when we started the Digital Weather Desk was we need a generator, and so we made that investment for our family. If that is a long-term investment that you are thinking about, we ordered ours from 3B Hardware in Sterlington. They have portable generators in stock as well. They will be open on Saturday. As long as folks can get to the store, they will be open on Saturday. So go see Matt and the gang. They do, again, have some portable generators in stock and can help you out. Again, for longer term, they can order you a Generac, full home standby generator. And Matt's a great dude. Michelle asked, and I'm going back through the questions very quickly. Michelle asked, do you expect the cold watch to expand farther across the area? I do, probably so. But here's the thing with those cold weather watches is the criteria for each office is different. Jackson's criteria is different from Shreveport's criteria, which is different from Little Rock's criteria, and they all are responsible for issuing those watches. I do know that the criteria is different in Jackson. But I wouldn't be surprised to see those expanded to include more of the region. Making sure I didn't miss anything. Timing for Saturday is really, it's just a matter of location, but I would expect a gradual onset of frozen precipitation from north to south through the day. It will be a slow crawl from north to south of the changeover. For the I-20 corridor, what I generally have right now in terms of changeover is probably at some point between sunrise Saturday and noon Saturday. However, if you wake up tomorrow and you already see ice in the trees, don't be surprised. Yeah, there is a lot of drizzle out there. Let's go to the radar. There's going to be a lot of shallow moisture across the region today. And so there's going to be a lot of patchy stuff. But please keep in mind that when you encounter some of this shallow moisture, it, again, is indicative of how saturated our environment is. but also we're in the 50s. A lot of us are in the 50s. Some of us are in the 40s, but we are well above freezing. So if you see that today, don't be like, oh no, we're good. We're good. Just going to be rain. So I think that kind of covers everything and sets us up for the forecast for the rest of the day. Again, a reminder of some of the content that's forthcoming. I do have some planning calls with some of our officials and some of our, folks that make decisions. And so we're going to have a call and just kind of discuss some things. A lot of folks have asked for my input on the weather, which makes me feel very blessed. I'm glad that folks value my opinion enough to ask for my opinion. But again, the whole point of the Digital Weather Desk is to provide a source for consistent, reliable, reputable weather information. And again, a reminder that is made possible by the local businesses that you see there on your screen. So again, if you appreciate what we're doing, a simple Facebook message, or when you need services of these businesses, keep them in mind. If you don't need their services, again, a simple Facebook message of, hey, thanks for supporting the Digital Weather Desk. Those messages do come back to me. Hey, I got a message from this person. They said, thanks so much. So again, this is cool stuff. This is a community that is meant to inform and educate. On that note, Flying Tiger just tags me in a something, telling everybody to download the app. Again, Digital Weather Desk app, available for Apple and Android users. Links to download can be found at digitalweatherdesk.com, along with interactive radar and forecast, which can also be found on the app. We appreciate everybody that's hopped in. That's a look at the latest forecast. Obviously, a lot more content to go through the day. I'm fixing to take the little munchkin to school, and then we're going to sit right back in this chair, turn on some music, and start building the forecast after we get done with Too Long Didn't Read. A lot of stuff headed your way today and tomorrow. Again, if you didn't join us last night, the general thought process is at some point tomorrow to start providing live updates, intermittent updates about every couple of hours or so. You're not going to miss anything as we go through this event. Thanks so much for stopping by the Digital Weather Desk, powered by Wintry Next Bank. As always, if I do not say this enough, I am so glad you're here. Thanks for making this part of your day, and I'll see you in a couple hours.